Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald at Progress City in Decatur at the Precision Aerial Ag Show. Now that may not sound familiar to you. It's the first year of this Ag Show. And what it's all about is these unmanned aerial vehicles. And we know that some people know them as drones. These drones can be very, very helpful to farmers in the ag community. And Stu Ellis, when you put this idea together, I mean, did you have any idea that you'd have maybe 1,000 people here in one day and dozens of exhibitors?
No, not really. This is beyond zebra, as you might think. We're real happy because the weather's been great. But people have come from not only 33 states, but they've come from at least 6 foreign countries that I know of. And when somebody would come from Argentina or India or even Kiev in the Ukraine, that shows that this technology draws people. They can see the benefits of it, particularly in agriculture, which we're focusing on, to increase productivity and efficiency for farmers in growing more food, better food, and resolving some of the issues that they have in that food production process.
As we go through this program, we're going to learn more about these vehicles and how they help farmers and how they take pictures and maps and those kinds of things. But how did you come up with the idea that this would be something that would be of such interest?
Well, I've been, since Progress City got here, I've been looking for things that could happen here that everybody would sign off on. And finally the planets lined up and everybody involved said, that's good, let's do that. And so at that point we started working and going, we were in road gear to bring this all together. But it was just one of those things that you've tried a lot of different things and bounced off a lot of different people and okay, let's do this. And the technology aspect, Decatur loves technology, Farm Progress loves technology, farmers love technology, and that's why we're here.
Yeah. Well, with your permission, we're going to wander around the grounds here and get a look at some of these vehicles, talk to some of the exhibitors, and see what's out there.
That's right, and I think when you talk it with exhibitors, to the attendees, you'll find out this has a real global interest, and that should come out real quick.
Thank you. Jason Watts, you're a farmer yourself.
Yes, sir.
And you've used this technology, haven't you?
Currently using.
Why do you use it? What does it do for you?
Well, we're still learning all the aspects that this technology can be used on the farm, but one way that I like to use, I work in the seed industry as well, and the crop scouting and the ability to scout mass amounts of acres and the timeliness and avoid some of the heat and things like that is one of the ways that we're taking advantage of it. We're using it in multiple ways. We're analyzing our stand, our plant stand through it. We're analyzing our crop health, as well as picking out any type of compaction or traffic issues that we're creating with our large equipment, as well as any tile or any type of residue management from the year before and some of the implications that's leading into the next year's crop. And we're able to take all this information and stack it together and be able to see through the layers of information to better analyze out what decisions we can make through that information.
So this thing's is it taking video or still pictures all this time?
We are taking still pictures. Each flight we carry 2 cameras. We have an RGB camera, which is a red, green, blue camera, as well as an infrared camera. So every flight we're capturing both an infrared image as well as a red, green, blue picture image, and we are capturing mass amounts of data and pictures in here that then get stitched together and are able to be viewed through a computer to look into what's taking place in your crop.
No matter how well you know your property as a farmer, you can't get this information just by riding around or driving around.
We're able to see wider than the range of colors we can see with our eyes. So we're able to see more information using the sensors and the visions and the computer technology than what we can capture with our own eyes. So we're able to maybe detect pest infestations or leaf diseases or things like that prior to being able to go out there and actually see it physically because of the spectrum of colors our eye is able to see.
Are you also the pilot of this thing?
I have pilots as well. I am an operated pilot on this. It's very easy to use, very easy to put together, very durable. The endurance is great.
This thing, you can tell it's been used because it's kind of banged up.
Yeah,
I guess it's kind of, they don't take off and land really easily sometimes.
It's still a piece of farm equipment.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So yeah, it's very nice. One of the things I like to say is a lot of farming is done through experience and intuition. There's no real way to quantify what you know. You farm the same piece of land for multiple years and you think you have an intuition to that field. Well, now we're able to turn that intuition into real data that we can store and look back over multiple years.
Okay, now I know that you are going to be demonstrating here for this bunch of people, and there's hundreds of people here today. And you're going to be doing some announcing, so we're going to cut you loose so you can do that. But we're going to get it taken off. It's going to be flying very high, so we really can't see it. But when you get it back on the ground, we'd like to talk to you again about this flight.
Very good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
About 20 gigabytes of information and pictures together through a web-based system. The Vireo is capable of flying in conditions up to 25 miles an hour ground. Wind speeds, it flies very stable. Wireless connection from the Vireo to the laptop, and then to be uploading and processing.
Okay, Jason, they finished the flight, and they packed the robotic plane back up into the case, and you're going to reassemble it for us, check it, make sure it wasn't damaged in any way.
Yeah.
I noticed it still has some soybean field on it where it came down.
Yeah, so actually one of the things as part of our safety checklist is we do have a post-flight checklist that the pilots have gone through, but we will go through that as well. So again, we're going to first look and make sure that we don't have any aileron damage or that anything was broken or interfered with that would cause any problems on our next flight. We're going to check their connectivity from the wings and the communication to our POGO devices, that nothing got damaged in the landing. And it is meant for a belly landing, so that is the typical landing. So I will attach the wings.
It's really pretty simple, isn't it?
It is
the way it assembles is
very simple. It's very lightweight. And then from here, we would touch in the battery. So we do get a little bit of wear down on the belly, but that's where it lands.
Yeah.
That's a very easy cosmetic fix to replace. And then from here, we would just stick in the battery. And it is up, ready to go. And so from at this point, we would be back at the stage where we'd be looking at the computer. So again, we would check the propellers, check the spin, make sure that there's no issues there. This plane is ready to go on its next flight.
Did this record any information while it was in the air?
Yes, it did. We would have been taking pictures based off of waypoints. And we're using cameras we're using two cameras, two sensors. One is taking near infrared imagery and one is taking red, green, blue. It's set up on a plan that we would set up taking flight pictures based off of what we were out to capture.
And that wasn't transmitting that information. It stores that information.
It stores it inside the computer processing unit here on the device, and from here there is a Wi-Fi signal inside the machine that we would pull the computer back out and we would sync the data. About a 100-acre field, which would take about 25 minutes of flight time, would take about 4 minutes to translate that data over from the Vireo back to the computer in the program. And that would be about 20 gigabytes of images and flight recordings.
We have to apologize to our viewers a little bit. We got a chance to see the takeoff, but it goes up so high so fast that with the naked eye you couldn't even see it.
It's very hard to keep your eye on. It's very quiet. It is hard to see. What we have is controls on our computer that we actually have a virtual cockpit showing where the plane is going, where it's intending to go, and where all the fail-safe points are. So if anything were to take place and this thing were to lose its GPS connection, the computer were to encounter an error or any of that sort, it would fly back to a rally point where it would just circle itself down in for a landing.
Remarkable.
So we would place that rally point in a safe location for that to land.
How far away does the pilot have to be?
The rules are that we stay within line of sight of the device. we can fly this thing almost 2 miles away from the ground station, and that's just because we've flown fields that have been about 1.25 miles long, and by the time it turns and stuff over them. So very durable, very flexible in the way we can fly, and this is unfortunate for the demonstration we got to put on. The capabilities of this machine are really in the endurance of its flight.
And what's the price tag on one of these?
This little kit that we're looking at here is about $25,000.
Well, you know what, for a farmer, that's not a huge investment. They're used to spending big money on equipment.
And the returns that you can get with it, it's a justifiable thing. We just need to ground truth the technologies, let the farmer see what can be gathered by having this tool on their farm.
Yeah. Thank you.
You bet.
Well, Steve Morris, we saw your plane successfully get off its launcher, and then pretty soon it was too high for us to see, but it looked like a good flight.
Oh yeah, flight was perfect. We actually mapped an entire field. We shot live video of the crowd. We were doing a bunch of things. It was only a 10-minute flight, but you can do all kinds of things in 10 minutes.
Yeah. The name of your company is MLB.
Yes.
You're out of California.
Silicon Valley.
And actually, you developed this plane and the software and the aerodynamics, didn't you?
Yep, it's all designed and built in California. We do all the composite manufacturing in Santa Rosa, and we've been doing this for 15 years.
Give us a tour, a real quick tour of this plane.
Yeah, so this particular airplane has a what's called a stabilized gimbal camera in the nose. So this is a video camera that can track targets. Not necessarily what you want for agriculture, but we can put a multispectral camera in here for agricultural use. This is a shield that protects the camera, so you can land without damaging it.
Okay.
There's a 20 megapixel color camera in the wing that we take mapping photos so that we can make an aerial map. At the altitude we were flying today, the resolution is going to be more than 2 inches per pixel. It'll be like close to 1 inch per pixel resolution.
Okay, leave that open if you would so we can get a picture of that camera.
Sure.
Okay, so that's a still camera.
Yep,
and the video's on the nose.
Yep.
Okay.
The airplane itself, obviously there's a gasoline engine. It's a 2-stroke engine. It runs on gasoline with a little bit of oil, mounted on a very soft engine mount to keep the vibration out of the cameras. It has a really big muffler to keep it quiet. It's a 50cc 4-horsepower motor. Right here we have a 2-gallon fuel tank, and on that 2 gallons of fuel we can fly 10 hours at 50 miles an hour.
10 hours?
So if you went one way, it'd be 500 miles.
But most of the planes we saw today are battery powered, and they're up for 40 to 50 minutes.
Yes.
But because this is a gasoline engine, that gives you that liberty to be up higher and for a longer period of time.
In terms of the amount of imagery we can cover, it's almost 40 times or more imagery than a small electric UAV, and that's what this is all about. This is about doing large areas of imaging because that's where you get the economy of scale to make this very economical. In this area, we have the autopilot and electronics that fly the airplane. So the brains are in this area, and you can see the GPS antenna and some of the communication and video antennas. And with 4 bolts, you can take the whole nose off, or 4 bolts, you can take the whole engine off. So it's modular, easy to work on. The landing gear is a skid system. It's shock-absorbing skids. So you can land really hard and it doesn't matter. And if it comes up on the nose, the sensor's protected. The whole airplane comes apart with just these little push pins. You can take the whole thing apart in a few minutes. It goes in a, we took everything we need to fly in an SUV today. We had the ground station, the airplane, the launcher.
You don't need a trailer or any of that stuff.
No trailer. We had everything in the SUV. And you know, the airplane looks a little unusual. It's got the engine in the back and the camera in the front, but this is kind of how a lot of UAVs look, because you want an unobstructed view on the front of the plane. So they're laid out like this. And the tail looks a little funny, but there's some aerodynamic reasons, but we like the tail because it has a flat spot on top to mount some extra antennas.
Give us a look at some of the video that you shot today.
Sure.
You've got it right here.
Yeah, so while we were flying, we had the gimbal camera automatically aim just at the crowd, and you can see we have a ability to zoom in at 30:1, so we can see people in the video. And this is all hands off. We just said, look at the, look in that area, and the camera automatically aims at the area that you slave
And you're
it
able to communicate with the plane through some kind of a control box?
Yep. We have through this antenna, we have communication range out to as much as 50 miles if necessary, but typically 10 miles. In this view, you can actually see the wing of the plane as we're flying, and then we're looking at some of the silos and stuff as we zoom in on them.
Yep. There's Progress City right there.
Yep. So, the military is more interested in this kind of application where you zoom in and look at things, but this makes a very good mapping platform where you just go out, it's like mowing your lawn with images, back and forth, lots of pictures.
I can see where a farmer would like that.
Yep. Yeah. And we think that, the economic model for this is really going to be, probably the farmer will buy the data from a service company. Because it's really better if he doesn't have to be bothered with learning how to operate these things. These things are just like, robotic lawnmowers. Instead of mowing your lawn, they take pictures. If you have 5 guys and 20 airplanes, you can cover a 50-mile radius in one day with high-resolution imagery that you can then sell to people. And we think that's the direction it's going to go if the FAA lets us fly.
Well, thank you for showing it to us.
Thank you.
That's great. Michael Piasecki, we've seen a lot of unmanned aerial vehicles today, but we haven't seen anything this big. This is really business. This takes up some room. I mean, this is not a toy. This is a real vehicle, isn't it?
Yes, that's right, Mark. It's 13.5 feet long and roughly 52 inches from wheel to wheel. And we transported it here from Philadelphia in that Sprinter van. All we needed was a ramp to get it from the bumper down to the ground, and 2 of us did it within a couple of minutes.
This is a helicopter. It has front and rear blades. The blades aren't on it now, but it would be under normal circumstances.
That's right.
And your family, this is not unusual. Your family's famous for a dual, sort of a double helicopter like this.
Yes, my father's Frank N. Piasecki, or Nicholas Piasecki. Yeah. And he was a son of an immigrant born in Philadelphia, and he was responsible for Piasecki helicopters and many innovations regarding helicopters. Actually, the second successful helicopter in the United States.
So he was behind the twin rotor thing.
Yes, he invented the twin rotor configuration.
Neat. Now this, we mentioned how big this is, but this actually has, I was wondering myself, most of these drones that we see are capable of taking pictures of the ground and keep storing information, but this actually has some applications. It looks like you have sprayers, or you could actually spray crops with this one.
Yes, I in order to be more relevant to this conference, we outfitted a ATV sprayer, and we quickly put an outrigger across the midship, and we have a spraying system that's actually functional, but we haven't sprayed anything yet, but we hope to do that not far in the future.
So, I mean, you mentioned North Dakota to me earlier. You could use this up, spray crops in North Dakota, well, or anywhere, I guess, anywhere you needed to go over, and it would fly. About how high would this thing fly?
We don't see it just skimming the heights of the crops. We don't really need to, in this application, fly very high. 15 feet would be the maximum that we need to transit from one end of the field to the next, but I see it even lower than that, maybe 5 feet off the deck.
And this would be piloted again by a pilot off-site who has a control in his hands and just pilots it.
Well, he's controlling the vehicle. He's not actually doing joystick. He's programming or pre-programming a grid pattern, and he would press go, and it would take off by itself, apply and follow whatever pattern
the flight plan.
Yeah. Ultimately, we see this having the sensing sensors that these gentlemen, the quadcopters, are flying today on board, and the computer power on board to process that data. And then we would have also the sprayer on board with more intelligence. In other words, it's simply an on-off switch right now, but we'd have more nozzles and more switches so that we could actually control the application of the chemical with precision, and that's key to transforming our production, really, of the American farm. If we're going to feed the mouths of billions and billions of people around the world, we're going to have to double or triple our production level, and the way to do it is through precision agriculture. All the bald spots in the farms that you see, especially from the air, that aren't very productive, it's turning those spots into productive areas is really what we're talking about here. And also decreasing costs, the costs of operating manned aircraft, and the fuel costs of driving ground spray equipment are substantial, and they damage crops when they go over the trenches. And here we fly over them, and we'll have the autonomy and the smarts on board to do it. I hopefully day and night. And this is going to be a crawl, walk, run scenario. It's not going to happen overnight, but in 5 years, I think you'll see this with regularity. Maybe it will still be novel. In 10 years, it'll be commonplace.
State of the art. Hey, if I wanted to order one of these today, what would I have to pay for it?
This would be at sort of a $500,000 aircraft. The rule of thumb is $1,500 per pound of structure, okay, and $8,000 per pound of electronics. You add those two up, and you'll get $500,000 aircraft, and that's in the defense industry realm. I think that will change when we get, the economies of scale get applied to agriculture, and this may be in the future the cost of an expensive ATV, that flies.
Yep. Well, thank you very much for spending time with us and showing it to us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, Wade, you just had your flight. You just had the Trimble out for a flight. How did it go?
It went very well. The UX5 platform is a very stable platform setup. We had some changing wind conditions and stuff here today, but trying to avoid the audience and stuff and still give everybody a view of what the product is capable of doing.
Yeah, it's difficult for TV because once one of these gets up in the air, they're far away. I mean, they're high and they're small and they're hard to see. And even for the people with the naked eye, some of them, I mean, you can see they're really straining to watch it.
Yeah, the product is designed with a ground control station, which we use a Trimble tablet computer. And it's a lot easier for the operator because he can see with telemetric data, he can see exactly where the craft is at. And so if you're using that as a reference, it's much easier to then look up and see exactly where the craft is at.
Ah, okay. Well, now let's take a look at this a little closer now. This is the way it would be launched, right? If it were going to be launched, it would be sitting here just like this.
Correct. We use a tension launcher, and this is exactly how the craft would sit. Obviously, we'd be outdoors, though.
Right. We don't want to launch it in here for sure. And then give us a little tour here of what we're looking at.
So basically, this is how the craft would be in flight. This one has a bit of damage on it, but it is designed as an expendable airframe, so it has a limited life, just depending on the number of takeoffs and landings. We use a simple lithium polymer battery, and then we use a off-the-shelf Sony NAXT5 camera, but we customize it with a Voigtlander lens on the device. And so this is what actually captures our aerial images and stuff as we're in flight.
Now it's capturing photographs. Is it also capturing any kind of ultraviolet or infrared, any other kind of images, or is it photographic images only?
Well, we offer two different types of cameras. We can capture near infrared imagery or just standard red, green, blue, basically the same photographs that you would take. The difference is the quality of image and your survey distance or your ground resolution. It changes based on the height that we fly.
I see. And this battery is what powers it with this single propeller in the back.
Correct. just the motor. We have a reversible thrust engine, so we can change the direction of the prop at any time. If we need to slow the aircraft down, especially on landing, we'll reverse thrust to slow the unit down so it lands very gently.
What is a farmer likely to learn after you put this up and say you take a picture every second or 2 seconds or so? What's he likely to learn from a flight?
Well, once we can either look at the raw images themselves, you're going to see a bunch of images above your field, or we can use our software product to stitch the image together, and you can see things like problem areas in the field, areas that need to be addressed for agronomic purposes. You can create variable rate maps from it. We can also use this for aerial surveys, so basically trying to get a survey of the topography of the field. So in this area, if you wanted to create, let's say, a drainage plan for installing drainage tile, this would capture that survey of your field for you while it's flying.
And how long can it stay up?
This has a flight time of about 50 minutes.
And it would fly routinely how high?
You know, today, because of regulations and stuff, we stay under 400 feet, but it's not commercially available today in the U.S.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. But you expect it to be, I mean, I guess in the near future, huh?
Yeah, today we can sell it to anyone that can legally fly, which would be a university or a governmental agency, but we can't sell them today to the general public.
And what's the price tag if I could buy one today?
This one is going to be just under about $50,000 for complete system, software, everything out the door.
Thanks, Wade.
Yeah, no problem.
Stu Ellis says about 36 exhibitors from all over the world have expressed interest in a show next year. That's on top of the 24 or so exhibitors they had this year, so plans are definitely underway for another Precision Aerial Ag Show next year here at Progress City. With another Illinois story in Decatur, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send $19.95 to Network Knowledge, P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.